I remember the days when people used to laugh at the thought of spending $500 on headphones. Now it's just a fact of life if you want the latest ANC cans. So what happens when an audiophile company matches the likes of Sony, Apple, and Bose in price? You get the Sennheiser HDB 630. Already, it's an audiophile darling, but do the headphones really deserve the praise they're getting? Or are they yet another product competing out of their league? I tested these in our labs for a couple weeks and have the answer. Let's meet the HDB 630. Sennheiser's latest headphones will instantly look familiar to headphone enthusiasts because they share a lot of common elements with the beloved Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless. The new headphones have a similar shape, the same matte exterior, and the biggest outward change that you can see is the decision to go with a fake but convincing leather-like material to replace the cloth headband and padding, and also much beefier ear pads. Under the hood, there's a lot of similar components like an internal DAC that can decode 24-bit 96 kHz files over USB or wireless sources. Additionally, there's a similar ANC system along with similarly huge battery. Like the older headphones, the HDB 630 has no ingress protection rating, so keep it away from moisture if you can. But these headphones aren't the Momentum 4 wireless, and it's pretty obvious that's the case shortly after you put them on. The increased mass of 311 grams up from the 295 grams might be hardly noticeable, but it's because of the significantly beefed up padding. Said padding is very comfortable, and I had no issues listening to the headphones for an entire workday at a time. The deep pads meet glasses wearers with something that doesn't clamp hard down onto their skulls, and while it does tend to trap heat, that's pretty standard for the ANC headphone experience. The chassis is mainly plastic, which is probably necessary to keep the weight down. You can adjust the headband by using the friction rod design, and since it doesn't have exposed hinges or pinchy bits, those of you with long hair shouldn't get their locks caught in the yoke or chassis too often. The headphones come with a hard travel case, covered in fabric, the mesh pockets to contain the dongle, 3.5 to 2.5 millimeter analog cable, USB-C cable, and the folded flat HDB 630. Given the number of little bits you can lose on a given day, this is a godsend. Though the Sennheiser HDB 630 doesn't make its name on features, it definitely has no shortage of them. The Smart Control Plus app is the hub for your headphone settings with the ability to locate them when they're lost, adjust ANC or transparency levels, controls, equalizer presets. You get the idea. But the thing I'm most excited about is the new parametric equalizer. Though it's a bit on the nerdy or difficult side for most people, enthusiasts will be able to add up to 5 of their own filters to make the HDB 630 match their preferences. And given the excellent frequency response of the headphones, it should be very easy to achieve the results that fit you best. A+, Sennheiser. A+. Well, I would have liked a system for people to share their presets like Nothing does. Each filter in the app labels what the filter characteristics are exactly, meaning that with only 5 filters available, it shouldn't be too hard to list out what settings you used. Nothing's, on the other hand, yeah, needs a bit of a heavy hand. Said the guy with the most popular preset on the Nothing X platform. Heyo. For those of you who have all sorts of different sources like smartphones, digital audio players, vinyl, any disc, the Sennheiser HDB 630 can connect to virtually anything by virtue of the fact that it uses analog, digital, and wireless sources. And for times when your wireless source doesn't support the best codecs available to the headphones, you can use the included BTD 700 dongle to give your computer or smartphone the capability to use aptX Adaptive. Not too shabby. But the news isn't all sunshine and roses. For example, while the BTD 700 is capable of broadcasting via Auracast and aptX lossless, the Bluetooth 5-point headphones themselves don't seem to support these. Not the end of the world, but something to note. The headphones do support aptX HD, however, though it's quite old even by today's standards. Still good, just old. Without the dongle, sometimes the headphones can get a little confused when you're listening to a secondary device, like a computer, and your smartphone tries to connect to the headphones, occasionally swapping the audio stream, but that doesn't happen often enough for it to be worth worrying about. In our standardized battery test, the Sennheiser HDB 630 lasted 53 hours and 46 minutes with the ANC on. We test all headphones level matched to the same listening level with a test track that contains real music peaking at 75 decibels SPL. So if you crank your tunes, you may enjoy a bit less time. If you talk on the phone a lot, same deal. Use more features, get less battery. This battery life is stellar. While it may not take the crown for the best ever tested, it is way more than the Sony WH-1000 XM6, more than the Bose Quiet Comfort Ultra, and vastly more than the Apple AirPods Max. Now, microphone performance is difficult to be fair to when you realize that there are external factors that can affect the outcomes, but overall, the Sennheiser HDB 630 acquits itself fairly well. You can hear our samples on the review with recordings that offer a baseline, office noise, street noise, reverberant space, and simulated wind. Go check that out. Hearing is believing. Decide for yourself. If there's one notable downside to using the Sennheiser HDB 630, it's the active noise canceling. And it's frustrating because while overall it measures fairly well, the active unit of the headphones is the weak point here. Despite the fact that you can achieve loudness reduction of outside noise by about 80 to 83% on average, depending on fit, the headphones aren't able to attenuate noise well in a really important range. Specifically, 300 Hz to 1.5 kHz will be attenuated by up to 9 decibels less effectively than the Sony WH-1000 XM6 does. Now, this was an issue for the older Sennheiser Momentum 4 wireless as well, and while it's not too bad, it's definitely something to consider when you're deciding whether sound quality or ANC is more important to you. If you look at the ANC effect for both headphones without taking isolation into account, they're really quite similar, and it goes to paint the picture that the main upgrade here is really just the ear pads. The other issue here is that the level of noise attenuation you can achieve should vary significantly, as the improvement for the HDB 630 offers over the previous headphones is the isolation, like I just said, and not the ANC. So even minor fit issues can drop performance even further. So if you wear glasses, sunglasses, hearing aid, earrings, a hat, have a ton of hair, really anything that could interrupt the pads for making a good seal on your head, you can expect that these headphones will struggle more with the outside noise than something like the Sony WH-1000 XM6. That said, this level of ANC is more than adequate for a flight, and the only time I wished for a better performance was in a segment of the Vancouver SkyTrain I dub the Screech Zone. This section of track is underground, and the noise reverberates off the walls insanely loudly and right in that divot of that attenuation profile. This particular noise may as well have been concocted in a lab to be the most annoying foe for the HDB 630's ANC unit, so it's hardly fair to knock it too hard, but it is something you might experience. Now, here's the meat of what audiophiles have been waiting for. In terms of sound quality, all I can really say is, damn! Sennheiser knows its stuff, but you don't often get ANC headphones that sound great. These do exactly that. While they really don't follow our preference curve in the highs, that's okay. The bass and mids are very important and keep up a trend of recent Sennheiser headphones of really nailing the fundamentals. Sure, they might sound a little dark leaning depending on your seal, but no matter what kind of fit you get, the sound is inoffensive at worst and really good at best. I suppose there is that weird hiccup between 1 and 2 kHz, but I believe that to be a consequence of the chart's smoothing and a minor channel balance issue, as the raw results are much less poor here. Bass isn't overblown, highs don't violently play jump rope with any target curve, and the only major deviation we can see is a narrow dip, which you really shouldn't hear all that much. Because of this, if you have different preferences, you can use the equalizer with very basic shelf or peak filters to achieve the results you want without nuking the sound quality. Now, if you're truly disturbed by this deviation in the highs from our preference curve, our old friends Floyd Toole and Sean Olive have some words to live by. Only use the Harman target as a guideline or reference when comparing relative differences among different headphones. While most people like it, it is not the last word on what sounds good. What sounds good to you is ultimately what matters. As an aside, if you want to learn more about audio, a great place to start is sound reproduction, acoustics, and psychoacoustics of loudspeakers, rooms, and headphones out now. Dr. Sean Olive and Todd Welty made some pretty big additions to this book, and notably for headphones too, so if you want to go check it out, link in the description. And who knows, maybe you'll see something that you recognize in that headphones section. I saw some consternation on Reddit about this, and while I could fill hours of YouTube videos on the subject of hard data versus soft data, data visualization, and why it's often a matter of choosing the options that conflict with your mission the least, rather than something that has an objectively perfect answer, You have to remember that the review exists to contextualize the observations we have in the lab and attempt to translate what that means for literal millions of people. I'm not trying to tell you that you, personally, will absolutely like this. I'm saying that these headphones, the Sennheiser HDB 630, has a reasonable enough sound as a starting point to achieve what you want with minimal effort, if any at all. So, does the Sennheiser HDB 630 perform well enough for the price? Should you consider buying these headphones? Yes. That is, of course, unless you really need a top flight ANC. Otherwise, I'd get something else.